Right, we started recording.
Hello, everybody. This is a decision-making meeting of the executive member covering all of the regulatory services, land and property, and contracting and procurement, and the budgets that go with those services. The first item on the agenda today is the monitoring of executive member decisions. That's a paper everybody's got. Is there anybody who would want to say anything to this paper? This is the paper where a number of items at the end of the last meeting came off. So it's probably a number of pages of about 27 items now, which just monitors the progress on the decisions. Please use the raise your hand function or, speak into the microphone if you need to. So I've not got any indications of anybody who wants to comment or raise any questions. So I'm going to note, as I always do, just note that executive member monitoring report. So thank you very much. The next item on the agenda today is this is an authorization approval document regarding community asset transfer of 52 Washacre building in West Horton. And I'll ask Mr. Williamson, please, to speak to that item. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor. So this item is to seek your approval, Councillor, on the disposal of the first community asset transfer on a list of so-called CATs, or community asset transfers, that were approved in December 2022. So it's quite a detailed report, and I'll try to lift out some of the highlights and key points for you and your councillor colleagues. In terms of historical context, we launched a new strategic asset management plan in 2020. And as part of that, we included a community asset transfer policy that was launched as part of the overall rollout of our strategy. And that was in 2020. And then subsequent to that, quite a lot of work was done to identify possibilities for CATs for the future. And the whole point of CAT is to develop our links with the community across the borough, and also to empower the community where possible to use council assets in the most effective and efficient way. It's also a method, as you'll see within section 1 of the report, to create sort of cost efficiency for the council at the same time as empowering the community. And you'll see a number of principal aims for CAT under section 1.3. So the report goes on to list a number of CATs that were approved in December last year. And one of those CATs or properties is Washacre, which is in West Horton. In fact, it's 52 Washacre. And it was determined that the best approach for us to move into trying to operationalise these CATs was to only pick one in the first instance, because this is a relatively new area for Bolton Council. And it's actually quite an intricate and difficult process to dispose of an asset so that it can be used by the community in the best way, but to make sure that we're protecting the organisation taking that asset and protecting the council asset at the same time. So quite a lot of due diligence and robust process needs to be followed in order to reach a decision on which organisation is best placed to take that asset. So we decided to, in effect, pilot our process with 52 Washacre, and all of the CATs that were approved in December were subject to consultation with ward councillors at the time, and that feedback from that process was taken into account. And Washacre seemed to be very much supported to go first. And since that point, we've been running through a structured process with a number of stages, and those stages are set out on page 4 of the report under section 1.8. And in essence, it requires us to publicly advertise the opportunity, which we did back in February. It also invites expressions of interest from organisations who potentially could use the property in the future to pursue their not-for-profit or volunteering objectives. And then subsequent to that, the next stage is stage 3, which is to seek detailed business cases through the council issuing a pro forma and a number of related documents specific to the property. So, for instance, condition survey information about the property. And then subsequent to that, the process moves on to evaluating those business cases and then moving on to ultimately instructing the sort of legal advisors on both sides, ultimately to result in the disposal and transfer of the asset. So since early this year, up until now, we've been working through that process. And with regard to Washacre, we had 4 organisations who submitted expressions of interest, all of which seemed to be extremely worthy. And you'll see that on page 5, we list out those organisations. And I'll just name the titles of the organisations rather than going into the details of what they pursue. So it's the Darren Deedy Foundation, Farnworth and Kersley Events Team, O Sense Through Me, and West Horton Community Assist. So those 4 organisations were invited to submit more detailed information, and this is in fact what they did alongside discussions with the council. So it's quite iterative and quite detailed in some cases. And we invited the involvement of Bolton CVS, Community and Voluntary Services Organisation, and they have been proved really invaluable in support of the 4 organisations and this process. Consequently, there's quite a lot of information that is generated through these more detailed submissions, and the officer team have been working our way through those details, and we've done so in conjunction with an outside organisation which is specialist in CATS, and that's the Community Asset Services Organisation. They've worked with quite a number of local authorities on exactly this area and have got a lot of expertise about how to ensure we're being fully transparent and fair through the process. So this resulted in the team essentially evaluating those 4 bids through a scoring process to produce a ranking of the 4 organisations. And at the bottom of page 5, section 2.8, you'll note that there are 3 main areas within the scoring evaluation that were being probed. One was the community benefit, but that's provided through the bid, and then we looked at the evidence of need of the organisation and the reach into the community, and then importantly the ability of the organisation to govern itself robustly and make sure that it had financial sustainability, which is really very key in managing a property asset. Can be very costly, and a good strategy for how to handle that, not just in the immediate term, but over the next number of years to come. And so that was an important dimension as well. So moving on to page 6, you'll see a summary of the scores through the process that was used. And 3 assessors took part so that we had a view from different human beings, so to speak, to make sure that we had a consistent view across more than one person, 3 in this case. And you'll see that the upshot was that the Darren Deedy Foundation was ranked highest in the first position, and that was the case from all of the assessors. It was unanimous and consistent. And Ranked second was West Horton Community Assist, followed by O Sensory Me, and then Farnworth Kersley Events. And on page 6, you'll see quite a little bit more information there about the various strengths of the bids that we had received, and also some of the perhaps information gaps or maybe concerns that the evaluation produced about the ability of the organisation to manage perhaps the long-term future of the asset. Now, with respect to the Down DD Foundation, we found that unanimously it was the strongest bid. It's a very well-run organisation and provides a good range of services to the community. And this part of the community experiencing really significant deprivation. While there were many strengths in the bid, a process like this always produces opportunities, and we found that there is an opportunity to look further into Down DD's strategy for the future to make sure that there is a robust business case and strategy and sort of strategic planning, if you like, for the future. We find that in the short to medium term, the Down DD Foundation could easily take on the property itself and make it successful. And we need to ensure that for the longer term, beyond the next couple of years, they also have a very good strategy and robust strategy in place. And so the recommendation from the report is that we enter into exclusive discussions with the Down DD Foundation in order to move into that next level of detail with them about the strategic future and their plans for managing 52 Washacre. And if successful, that would lead to the disposal of this asset through a lease. It would be a long lease. And the recommendation would be that it would be for a 10-year period in the lease and a 3-year break clause, so that both the council and the Down DD Foundation have a particular point in time where we can review how successful the situation is and hopefully move on with the rest of the 10-year term. But it's a good opportunity to have a review point at 3 years. So, Councillor, that's the recommendation of this report.
Thank you very much for that report and the run through of the document. I'd like to ask any of the members on the meeting, would you like to raise any questions or give comments at all on this community asset transfer? Councillor Priest, please.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to say that I contacted my West Horton colleagues to ask them about this, and they were really appreciative of all the consultation that had gone on, and they are in agreement that Down DD is the best organisation to take over this facility, so they have no problems with it.
Thank you very much, Susan. Councillor Flitcroft.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to ask you, you mentioned about the 3-year break in the lease for either party. What would happen? Is it possible that if this organisation make a really good success of this enterprise, in that 3-year break, when it comes up, is there a possibility that the council might say, hey, this is doing really well, we want to do this, we want it to be ours, and in effect get shut of the organisation and take it on themselves? Does that make sense?
May I come back on that, Councillor?
Yes, yeah. Please, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Thanks. So no, the intention would be to, if this organisation, or let's be optimistic, when the organisation is successful, the intention would be to have continuity. There's a reason for an organisation's success, and there wouldn't really be an alternative reason to disturb that. And this is about empowering the community. You know, this is the fundamental principle of a community asset transfer, is to give voluntary and not-for-profit organisations a chance to play a really pivotal role in the community. And I think that the break clause would only come in really if there was substantive information to suggest that there was some jeopardy in how the asset was being run, or maybe for the immediate term future of the asset. And that's really very key, because we don't want the organisation to fail, and we equally don't want to have a substantial liability within the council's asset should the, for instance, the material in the property or condition of the property be deteriorating and not being addressed in some way.
Thank you, Andrew. That was the response I was hoping for. I just don't like to think of piggybacking on somebody else's hard work sort of thing. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come in at all? No, okay, I'll move to the decision. And first of all, I want to thank officers for all of the work on this, which is a recommendation to approve a community asset transfer. But as you know, also they've been putting together an operational procedure for all the future community asset transfers we want to see successful at Bolton Council and in the Bolton Borough community. Also, Bolton CVS, who provide a support system for this process. The 4 applicants and all the work that they did in this process themselves. And Community Asset Services, which is a cooperative that the council has been able to engage with. So this is an authorisation approval from me for the Director of Corporate Resources in consultation with the Borough Solicitor to dispose of 52 Washacre via a community asset transfer to the Darren Deedy Foundation. And this is option 3 as set out in the report. In addition, of course, on page 7, you'll find, you've already heard on the meeting, it's recommended that Darren Deedy Foundation be offered a 10-year full repair and insure lease, conditional upon them working with Bolton CVS to develop further a more comprehensive business plan that incorporates the requirement of the asset. It's further recommended that a break clause at 3 years be included. That's been explained, and the only additional authorisation number 2 is to authorise the Borough Solicitor to complete legal formalities. So thank you very much indeed. The next item on the agenda is an item of a Part B item. It's been decided that this is something that because of commercial sensitivities is something that we hear at the present time in privacy. So our officer will, I'll wait until he's stopped the tape. Thanks very much indeed.